What is good, fam? We have pulled up in the fields of hatred, and we are going to see if people have caught up to us to be somewhat of a challenge at all, because this whole entire season I have been absolutely destroying people with one-shots, and it does not look like people have caught up. These are 2 level 85. This is not even going to be a challenge. He can't even damage me. The flame wall sword. The second his bear goes away, he's dead. This has been happening all season, you guys, and this is why my build video has been extremely delayed. I was one of the top, 230, 200 so players to hit level 100, and it just seems like the competitive player base has completely vanished. That was a pretty cool pull. I like that. That was really cool. Are they duoed? I thought they were fighting. Somebody, I think the druid fooled me. Really like the way Sork's skills look, but he doesn't do any damage, fortunately. You get him in a stun lock, he's dead. Almost one-shot the druid with my subterfuge damage release gem, my brutal gem. These guys aren't a challenge at all. I've been searching very hard for like low 100s, like I said, but it's, I don't know. It seems like people that are actually hitting level 100 are mostly PvEers. I know I had a friend comment on one of my videos that said most of the PvPers are going to be in Eternal. And that's how it was in D2, where, the majority of competitive PvPers just kind of stay in Eternal. And that may possibly be the truth, so I may potentially go back to Eternal for like a strict like PvP build. Because yeah, I'm just not getting a challenge. I'm gonna turn in and then head north. If it's the same guys, level 80 guys, I'm gonna try a different zone, see how it turns out. But yeah, by the end of this video, I'm gonna show you guys my build, because I'm just kind of tired of waiting for any type of challenge. It's just not happening. All right, let's see who's up here. I think it's the same guys though. Yeah, it's a Sork. Go ahead and actually pop my He couldn't see me because I was concealed. That's kind of funny. He ran right into me. Yeah, he got to turn in though. That's unfortunate. Whatever. Alright, let's head to the next zone. See if we can find some over 100s. But yeah, I feel like Diablo has a lot of potential. I don't know where this potential is gonna go, and that's part of my concern. I really hope Blizzard speaks more to the community, because they're making changes, they're making knee-jerk reactions to the masses, but they're not actually speaking to the truly like core player base. Maybe like something more closer to like BlizzCon, or like, making events would be a greater like platform to like actually speak to the core Diablo lovers. Because me personally, I would not be PC gaming without Diablo. I've been playing Diablo since literally Diablo 1. I was like 7 years old when I first saw Diablo 1. And then I started playing Diablo 2, There's actually somebody to the north. Diablo 2 is like one of the first PC games I ever like beat though. I was probably like 10, 11. Oh, it's an 86. He did some good damage. It was a rogue, so he definitely had good damage. He had a lot of shards to turn in. It was a pretty good player. I think he was rocking similar build, twisting blades, poison imbue. It would have been a lot closer if he was closer to my level. He concealed when he saw that I dashed in, but I didn't have my yeah, I can't like give him the benefit of the doubt. I have to just destroy that kid because too many crits. He could probably kill me. So I just daze him with dash. I'm going with my poison imbue. If he hits a daze on me, I instant shadow imbue or conceal to reposition. And that's kind of how this build works. If I replace my ice boots with regular boots, then I could potentially add 2 shadow steps to this build. But I'm literally rocking almost the same build I run in PvE. It's minimal effort because there's minimal competition, right? Once I see there's more competition, then I will actually go and farm those boots, which I would want dex, movement speed, dodge chance, and then intellect on those boots. Intellect for the damage or crit, strength. I would just definitely say intellect if you want to meet those other higher thresholds to go more deeper into your Paragon board. But yeah, strength if you don't really care about the damage and you want to just add a little bit more armor, survivability. But if I find more competition, then I will build into those boots and kind of readjust my Paragon board. But like I said, minimal effort for minimal competition right now because I haven't died in PvP once this season. It's been like absolute annihilation because the majority of Diablo players are PvE on season 1. So like I said, we will see about going back to Eternal for PvP. But for my seasonal PvP build, I'm gonna just go ahead and show you guys. It's very similar to what I was rocking. I got basic attack, max life, poison, cooldown, with momentum is absolutely necessary, imbued skill damage. So I'm missing a ton of DR and armor. Well, actually not armor, just a little bit of DR for my chest piece. I don't have any distant DR on this. That is huge. So essentially, if I was to actually run into competition, I would swap over to my DR chest piece. But for the majority, I'm just using my imbuement skill damage chest piece to just one-shot people. Critical strikes, dex, TB, attack speed, armor, poison, close, distant, and then Pitnit Greaves. I got basic attack DR, and then puncture, poison imbue, and then a smoke grenade with dash on my chest piece. And like I said, the majority of these stats are based around damage. My pants is where I'm getting the most of my survivability from. My gloves, again, it's damage from the dex, it's damage from the TB, it's damage from the attack speed, it's damage from the crit. I used to use the Shadow Clone gloves preseason, which they are a good alternative if you don't have perfect, legendary gloves. But the unique Grasp of Shadow gloves are good for the vulnerable damage. They will work, and they also add Shadow Clone damage, so they're pretty good. Pitnit Greaves is for the chill, which provides CC and slow on target so they can't escape. It's really good. Imbuement skill damage, all stats, critical strike with imbued skills, damage to close and vuln on my crossbow. Obviously, the damage to close is stacking very well with my daggers. I'm rocking double dagger for the overall increased attack speed as well as damage to close stacking in my Paragon board as well as my build. Crit strike with imbued. Notice the imbued skill damage stack, the vuln damage, the dex, the crit damage, and then the imbuement corruption aspect with the bursting venoms aspect. These two aspects pair very well together. It also I'm getting resets off of my Poison Imbue Pestilent Gloves on normal attack. So this build is specializing in resets without using Poison Trap. That way, comparative to last season, we had problems with resets because I wasn't using Poison Trap. Now I can get Poison resets almost infinitely, and I have infinite scaling damage with these imbuements. And then I have Condemnation, obviously just to boost the overall damage. Holy shit, why am I using this ring? Or going back to town. Alright, the correct ring to use. Alright, yeah, so I wasn't even using the right ring. I was missing a lot of attack speed from my crit strikes from core skills. So I have vuln damage, damage to close, crit strike, crit damage, extra core skill damage, and then I'm getting my defensive subterfuge gem, which I'm getting 250 times damage reflected up to 17k. This one's current 15k. I haven't really taken the time to max it out. I probably could, but 19% damage reduction, huge. When you use just using a subterfuge skill, which dash counts as a subterfuge skill because I'm dropping smoke grenade, conceal counts as subterfuge skill. So I am gaining insane amount of DR through my gems, and then twisting blades, obviously, and then also gaining armor from disobedience, which is really, really, really huge. Yeah, that is my gear setup, you guys. For my skills, obviously for specialization, I'm still using combo points. I just don't really ever switch off combo points. I don't like anything else for specialization. For my skill build, it's on 1 in puncture, 9 in TB, extra points from my gloves, 12% damage reduction from sturdy. And then I have 2 in rugged and 2 in reactive defense, so that when I get CC'd, I do have some extra DR. This passive is actually like extremely good for rogues. I don't understand the point of using gems for damage reduction while control impaired when you have a passive that boosts your damage reduction to control impaired. This is really good for PvP. If you notice that you're running into a lot of damage over time opponents, then essentially what you would do is you would put more points into rugged, but I have 2 points in each. It's just fairly evenly spaced out. And then concussive for the extra crit upon knocking someone down, so that basically after I knock them down, next hit should be pretty much guaranteed crit. Hopefully it's an imbued skill, which I already have extra crit on imbued skill, and then they just get one shot. I have dash with the crit damage bonus. You could go for the 3rd point in dash, but I just don't feel like it's really worth it. Like the cooldown reduction it's okay, but I have 2 stacks of it, and then the aspect that I have on my chest piece to drop a smoke grenade also reduces the cooldown of dash, so I don't really see the point of doing that. And then adding a daze is just kind of extra because I'm dropping smoke grenade again, so I don't really need the daze, so I don't really go into the 3rd point of dash. I just don't see the point of it. Critically striking a dazed enemy, which I'm dazing them with, like I said, with the smoke grenade, so critically striking them will knock them down, and it's pretty much like majority of my hits are crit. If it's not my TV, it's going to be my encircling blades. Then I have concealment. You could go deeper into concealment, but I would rather have the defense, as rogue somewhat lacks defense. One thing that is extremely good is mending obscurity. Now, let's say you don't want to go for the flat DR on these, then you would pretty much put at least 3 points. You could put 3 points here and then maybe 1 point into rugged for the mending obscurity. Basically, when you conceal, you're going to gain a about 12% HP per second, which conceal lasts for 5 seconds. So you're gaining over 60% or about 60% of your health back just through concealing from using mending obscurity. But because I have momentum and fights last so quickly, I don't really need the extra healing from mending obscurity. But if I was 1vxing, I would rather depend on my healing from mending obscurity than my overall DR, because you want a one-shot stealth runaway, and you get stealth resets upon killing someone, so that's what makes mending obscurity really, really good for PvP. If you were to go shadow step, obviously then you would need 3 points into Shadow Stab, and that is the reason I'm able to get away with adding more extra DR in this line right here. But I do have only 1 point into exploit. Health and injured is okay. It's not amazing. I don't really see the point of it. Obviously, I'm also not using weapon mastery because I just don't see the point of it. I'm not using crossbows, and daggers only give increased damage to healthy enemies. It's not that great. Malice, damage to vulnerable. Obviously, vulnerable is still a very good stat when you can stack it in high numbers or high integers. Poison, imbuement skills gain crit. Obviously, the majority of the damage from this build is from imbuement skills, so you want every imbuement skill to crit. 12% or 12 points into poison imbuement because main source of damage. Extra 75 times damage on poison imbued skills, absolutely necessary. DR from poisoned enemies, which stacks with the DR from poisoned enemies on my pants, and then extra damage, multiplicative damage on poison damage. And then I have Frigate Finesse, which is 15 times damage to chilled enemies, which they are always chilled from my boots. Again, if I replace my boots with a normal Shadow Step aspect boots, then I would have to get rid of Frigate Finesse because I have no other source of cold, unless I was to swap my Brutal Gem and my Amulet, which is currently giving me 41 times multiplicative damage for each crowd controlled effect on the target, which could be chilled, it could be dazed, it could also be taunted. I am not like 100% sure if taunt works on players or if it counts. I'm not sure because for Barbarian, I believe it does for their version of taunt, but I haven't tested this. If someone has, please let me know in the comments. But that's a very interesting like interaction that I haven't like fully gotten the chance to test. But then we have Shadow Clone, obviously, and then 1 point into Adrenaline Rush, just so I can get to haste for the max attack speed and max movement speed, depending upon my energy. And then I have Momentum. All right, now for my Paragon board. This is the most recent Paragon board I dropped in my tier 100 playthrough, but I am basically going to highlight the major nodes. I'm getting HP from all my resistances nodes. I am getting extra damage and cutthroat damage, armor and cutthroat damage for my closer node. It's always best to put a dex node here. And then I have vulnerable exploit, and then combat crit strike, vuln, and then extra exploit weakness. And then at the top of my exploit weakness board, I'm getting damage to elites and more health. Also damage reduction from vulnerable. This board is the core of our build for PvP as well as PvE. Keep in mind, I'm using the same Paragon, like I said, the same Paragon, and I'm using PvE. This Paragon board for me is best in slot because it gives me a lot of HP, whereas I personally don't feel motivated to grind for best in slot gear with the current state of the game. So without grinding for best in slot gear, I am able to do like all forms of content just by adding a few HP nodes, which are minimal Paragon points, from where I would be in my Paragon board anyway. You know, I'm only putting a few points to get to these nodes. I'm already going these directions anyway. It's not costing me a lot, right? Tricks of the trade, obviously, after every puncture, then my next twisting blade should have 25 times multiplicative damage on my imbued skill, hopefully. It's huge. And then Lawless for the armor, and then the extra damage to close enemies on this node for going into strength. Potentially, if you didn't want the HP, you could go up here for 25% extra damage to close, but I prefer the health over the damage because this build does not lack damage. Rogues lack survivability, especially this season with the Siphoning Strike nerfs. On the left side of my Paragon board, I have Lawless again. You notice I'm stacking armor every place I can get it. That way I have more survivability and I don't have to depend on those higher rolls. And then I have vulnerable damage as well as core skill damage. And I'm just coming straight down into my imbuement board, and you get every damage node here in a straight line in this. This is getting you imbued skill damage, poison damage, non-physical is poison damage. You're getting imbuement skill cooldown, which is not that useful, but it's in the way, so you get it anyway. For the rare off chance you don't get a reset, but you get so many resets, it's kind of not that useful, but it's okay. You get non-physical, and then I'm adding a bunch of damage to my poison damage using Bane. Um, like I said, potentially you could use Tracker here, but I prefer Bane as it does have that 10% chance to deal double damage over the duration, which is huge in my opinion, especially with how quick a lot of these fights last. And then I have 30% imbue skill damage. I have been able to do all forms of content with this Paragon board. PvP, PvE. This is a PvX Paragon board. I do not see myself changing this season, as I do not need to. I can do all forms of content. But yeah, if you guys have any questions, concerns, comments, please drop them in the comment section below, and I will catch you next video. Peace and love, fam.